Now, Mr. Trump has been in office for coming up on 2 months now, and it seems unclear how his trade policies will move the administration forward. Tell me about the impact to Ohio.
Well, the initial reason I did this segment on trade is because there was so much talk about trade during the campaigns, and obviously talk doesn't mean action, but being 2 months into things, I had assumed that businesses would be girding themselves for potential tariffs or potential actions that we heard about on the campaign trail. But in talking to David Silk, he says companies aren't really doing much of anything yet. One reason is because we don't have any details of potential actions which could happen, so they can't do anything if they don't know what's going to happen. And also, he said politics don't equal a business strategy for them. So just because things are being said in Washington, it doesn't mean that businesses have to react to that. But that being said, he did point out that these countries, like you said, NAFTA and China, which were pointed out by Donald Trump, do have a big impact on Ohio. Here's what he said about that.
I mean, obviously, we have heard discussions from the present administration with regard to countries like Mexico. We've heard concerns about China. But the reality is that if you look at Ohio's trade partners, about 40% of our exports from Ohio go to Canada. Roughly $6 billion worth goes to Mexico every year. So Canada and Mexico are our first two largest trading partners, of which Canada is the largest trading partner. And then you have China, which is the third largest trading partner.
Talking with Tony Ganzer, and also the governor just left the country for a little while on a brief trade trip. Does that have an impact? What does Silk think about what the governor did? So
the governor went to Germany. He also stopped by the Munich Security Conference, and then he made a trip to London, presumably to shop Ohio business around. And I asked David Silk, what is the point? If we have action in Washington which may undercut Ohio in some way, why is the governor going? Is he going to make any impact? Are people still going to invest? And David Silk said, yes, absolutely there's a benefit because a number of local governments also are making investments, and he's kind of bolstering that. Here's what Silk said.
If you look back at 2016 and looking forward into 2017, there are initiatives from Dayton, from Cincinnati, from Akron, from other cities in Ohio as well, all going out overseas, dealing with everything from biotech to aerospace. The fact that the governor is engaged in reinforcing those activities and supporting Ohio exports and imports, reinforcing the overseas investment picture in Ohio as well, is very important and very helpful to those communities.
We talked about NAFTA and China. You talked with other people besides Mr. Silk there. What do they think about Ohio's standing right now when it comes to trade on the international level?
Yeah, I talked to Ned Hill, actually. He's a former Cleveland State University professor, now at the Ohio State University. And in talking about potential trade wars, potential influence on Ohio on the international scale, he said it would be far from pain-free if these tariffs are enacted on these countries. One example he gave was supply chains would be disrupted. Anything that happens from the White House, supply chains are going to get nervous. And when supply chains are nervous, then companies start to clamp up on investment, for example. He also said even customs regulations could disrupt companies because if they're doing too much paperwork, maybe they're going to say it's too much hassle. We're not going to do it. We're not going to invest at all.
Delays are dollars.
Exactly. And something that Ned Hill said, he said that people who think you can go in and just make better deals don't truly understand what's going on in government and the role of government in trade. And he said you would be better spending your time if you fixed rules and fixed the playing field that we're working on instead of, quote, trying to blow up the global trade system.
Given what you said, maybe there's no answer to this question, but what could or should Ohio companies be looking to do?
I mean, one step, like Ned Hill said, that lobbyists are out in force in Washington. And what he thinks is going on from the Ohio business perspective is businesses are trying to convince lawmakers and members of the administration to do something which looks okay, but doesn't really change anything in the long run. So right now he thinks the goal is to find a face-saving measure, but that's it.
And they're still searching.
They are.
Tony Ganzer, don't be a stranger.
I won't.
Thanks so much.